o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 revised order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL chapter 304, 30A, section 18. Meetings of the Berkshire Hills Regional School District School Committee will be conducted both in person and remote through March 31st of 2025. Agenda items listed are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed. Items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. This meeting is being recorded by CTSB and the school committee and will be rebroadcast. It is also being recorded by the Berkshire Eagle and the Berkshire Edge. We will start off with a roll call vote because we have two members online. So Sarah Tonetti?
Yes.
Allison Reed?
Yes.
Jason St. Peter?
Yes.
Andy Potter?
Here.
Bill Vogt?
Here.
Fields?
Here.
Diane Singer?
Here.
Sarah Burla?
Here.
Rich Dehoney?
Here.
And I am here. Did I call everyone?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, first thing, before we get to the public hearing, we have the minutes of February 13th, 2025 to have a motion.
So moved. Seconded.
I have a motion by Andy, a second by Bill Fields. Any discussion? It's a roll call vote. Sarah?
Yes.
Allison?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Andy?
Aye.
Bill?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Sarah?
Aye.
Rich?
Yes.
And I, it's unanimous. So we are about to start the public hearing. Rich, you want to?
Yeah, no, and I'd ask Steve just make a couple comments about process, because we've had two things, it's been a accelerated process. We haven't had as many finance committee meetings as we normally do. And I know we have several new members and one new member who's actually an old member. But, you know, what I want to point out was that by our not only our policy, but chapter 71, the budget originates with the superintendent. He's responsible for composing it. And as you know, he did that. Our policy requires him to have it to us by January 15th. He was a little late this year, but that's okay. We let him slide on that. But that's all that is a start. Is the superintendent is legally required to give us a draft. It's now been transmitted to us. It's been transmitted to the town. A public hearing has been notified this tonight. So now it's our budget. Because I know there's been a lot of conversation in the last week about who's doing what and what the role is. But this is now just the second step in a process, the public hearing. Some would say the most important part. I believe it's the most important part of the process. But then this will close, the public hearing will close, and then the budget's wholly with us. And at that point, we can do whatever we want with it. There's a process, we can amend it, we can amend it in whole, we can amend it in line items. But it's us who do that. It's not anyone else, and it's certainly not Peter, who does that, and we'll have plenty of time, to work on that. You know, the final thing I'll point out is we're statutorily obligated to pass the budget, and we need to do it with 7 affirmative votes. And doesn't matter who shows up on the day we're voting. We need 7 affirmative votes to pass a budget, which tells me we're gonna have to need 7 very unhappy people this year to cast votes in favor of this budget at some point. So that's what I want to say, but I just kind of put because you guys know I get hung up on process. I wanted to put that in perspective before we get rolling.
Okay, I'll talk more about process for the actual public hearing. So to drill down, tonight is the FY26 Berkshire Hills Regional School District budget public hearing. The school committee's had no deliberations on the FY26 budget thus far. Dr. Dillon has worked with the finance subcommittee of the school committee and administration to formulate a budget that attempts to balance the needs of our students and the budgets of the taxpayers of our 3 towns. We'll take comments from those in person and alternate with those who are participating virtually. I'm going to ask you to state your name and address before speaking. If you are not from one of the 3 towns in the district, please state your affiliation to the district. Each speaker will have a firm 3 minutes to speak. If you have written remarks that take longer than 3 minutes, please abbreviate them, and you can always send the entire remarks to the school committee by email or in print tonight. Many of you have already sent us emails, and that's terrific. That gives us time. I ask you to be courteous and respectful. Due to privacy concerns, please only refer to staff members by positions, not by name. After all remarks are heard, the school committee will close the public hearing. Depending on the time and what the school committee decides, we'll either start deliberations this evening or at our next meeting on Thursday, March 6th at 6 p.m. Deliberations will include the administrators and school committee members only. The final vote on the FY26 budget must be taken by March 26th. So just keep that in mind. I hope we vote sooner than that, but just keep that in mind. Peter, do you have a few words you want to say?
Yeah, so I just want to share some context. Some of you have heard me share parts of this before, and some people, this is new. To be very precise, I wrote some things down, so I'm going to read that. And obviously, thank you for coming to our public hearing as well as sharing emails and feedback. Nobody wants to make any cuts. It's a very difficult year, and this is a very difficult situation. To reiterate some of what Steve said, the Finance Committee, the Business Administrator, and I have been working diligently on this budget since August, and I've worked closely with each of the 3 school principals, the Directors of Operation and Student Services, with the explicit goal of creating the least amount of negative impact on students. District costs, as I think you all know, are rising due to increases in health insurance, salaries and benefits, transportation, utilities, and special education costs, both tuition and transportation. We're in the process of advocating for changes in the state's funding formula, but that takes time. And we're trying to balance the needs of the students we serve with those of the communities we serve. If we made no reductions, our increase this year would have been around 12%. We recommended reductions and came in around 6%. We then learned that Great Barrington is very close to going over its tax levy limit. So I'm now proposing additional reductions on top of what we've already proposed to help avoid that. And at different points, the school committee will talk about that. Once again, and most importantly, no one wants to make cuts. It's a very difficult year, and this is a very difficult situation. I'm going to now summarize what I initially proposed and then make a few sort of interim recommendations for some changes or possibilities. At the elementary school, I proposed eliminating a 3rd grade section and eliminating many stipends. At the middle school, eliminating a design teacher position and a math position. At the high school, not filling retiring English and computer positions, eliminating a PE position and a half-time French position. And at the district level, eliminating the out-of-school time director position of 0.4 CODA position, and that's the certified occupational therapy assistant. And also at the district level, though they're primarily housed at the high school, eliminating the ETL position, which is the educational team lead. Since our initial recommendations and after some deliberation with the administrators, I'm now recommending that we retain the 3rd grade position and not invest in a new reading curriculum at this time. I'm also now recommending the elimination of the high school assistant principal position for CVTE. And we continue to evaluate the PE position at the high school, and we'll share updates on that next week. We continue to work on some additional reductions, but most are likely not personnel related, though I do want to leave open the possibility for that. Okay, so that's a little context. The second thing I wanted to do is try to address some common misconceptions that keep popping up on social media, and maybe in conversations too. The budget process is complex, and I want to try to correct some of those. There are many misconceptions about school choice. Once we accept a school choice student, they are ours until they graduate or move away. Even if the school committee voted to stop school choice, we would have to graduate all the existing students. This is probably a better conversation to have after the budget process. At the same time, the state rate for school choice hasn't changed in 32 years. It should, but it's really a political hot potato. We're one of approximately 13 districts and towns that have a positive school choice ratio. And just what that means is we accept many more students than choose to go somewhere else. And from a political perspective, because there's so few school districts that have a positive number of kids coming in, it's really a political hot potato, and elected officials are generally not interested in addressing it because they represent all communities, both the ones that are seen as winners and losers. We also accept a number of students through tuition agreements. Those are with our neighbors in Richmond and Farmington River, which is Otis and Sandusfield. They each have a few years left on their contracts, and then they'll be renegotiated. Over the past 5 years, they've each gone up 4% each year. Another thing that comes up a lot is the sort of general need or question about the need for administration in a district, particularly in tight budget times. We're proposing eliminating 2 administration positions, the assistant principal and the director of out of school time. Last year, we eliminated the wellness director position. Some of us have asked if we need the director of learning and teaching role. That position helps generate hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant revenue while providing essential services to the district. The district benefits from the role and does not have the capacity to absorb those duties. Some people have asked if we need a principal and assistant principal for each building. They're complex organizations, and sharing one would diminish our capacity to support students, staff, and families. It also might be impossible to recruit somebody to be a split principal across an elementary and a middle school, responsible for that many young people. In each case where there are reductions, principals have come up with plans to meet students' needs and cover classes. Another issue that has been raised are concerns about salaries, both administrators and teachers. We try to recruit and retain exceptional staff and pay them in the top 25% of the county. We've done careful market analysis and addressed increases in negotiations. I hope this addresses some of the broad concerns. And now with Steve's direction, I think we're going to open this up following his guidelines and hear your feedback, and we'll incorporate that into our future work.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
A second,
Second.
opened by Andy, second by Bill Fields. It's a roll call vote. Allison,
Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Bill,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Sarah,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I. It's unanimous.
One more, Sarah.
Did I miss a Sarah? Sorry, Sarah. Oh, yeah, you're there. Okay, it is unanimous. And if those in the room come to the microphone over there, and those online, raise your hand. We'll alternate. Don't be shy.
You can go right to the
Yeah,
microphone.
just go, Charlie, go right to the microphone. Just state your name and address. Yeah, it would be helpful if a couple got there. That would be terrific.
Start the time until I start talking,
I haven't started, Charlie. I treat you okay.
talking to you.
I treat you okay.
All right, keep your finger. All right, Charles Williamson, 48 Blue Hill Road, Great Barrington.
Yeah.
I'm talking for the town of Stockbridge, West Stockbridge and Great Barrington. Back in the 60s, we voted for this regional school. I want you to take and think about this, so you might want to write some of these numbers down. We are drowning in red ink with school choice. These are Dr. Peter Dillon's numbers. We have 255 students which we pay $20,000 to make up the difference to teach them. That's over $5 million. We have 65 tuition students, which we pay 14,000. That's $900,000 plus. So that's 320 students we have. So that's over $6 million, of which Barrington pays roughly 70%, which is a good 4,200,000. Of these 21 towns that come to our town, because we have a high school, 16 of them don't have high schools. They pay roughly half our taxes. Now, I want to give you something to think about, running a school like a business. Now, Harvard has an endowment. They have $53 million in their endowment. Don't think, when we have these people come to our school, they should be paying us. They should be paying 20% over the tuition cost. So we can use that money to improve the school as it ages. If we were getting 20% for all these students over the last 60 years, we wouldn't be going to the town asking for money. We would have the money. Now, my taxes in Great Barrington has gone up 12.2%. Now, town of Stockbridge, they're holding their taxes to under 4%. I congratulate Stockbridge. You are driving the local people out. I can't afford my taxes. But I want to let you know, I retired 20 years ago. 25. And I don't get increases, and I can't keep up with the inflation rate. But now, the town of Barrington, by the time we have 3 bridges to put up here in the next 10 years, whatever, it's gonna be over $100 million. So I know our taxes are not going down. I just want you people to think about it. You can come up with good plans. We should be getting money for these kids that are coming to our school, not getting this $5,000 from the state, who hasn't done a damn thing in over 60 years, but sit on their ass. Excuse the words. But just remember, these 21 towns that are coming here, 16 of those towns don't have high schools, and their taxes are a lot cheaper. Go to Alford, go to Southfield, go see what their taxes are. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Peter Dillon's got the numbers.
Kaylee Slato, I'm 877 Roads and Bailey Road, in Marlboro, Mass. If you already know, my name is Kaylee Slato. I'm one of the physical education teachers at Monument. Had the honor of teaching at Monument for this past school year. Prior to Monument, I taught in the state of Connecticut for over 7 years. For a majority of those years in Connecticut schools, I've seen firsthand the impact and restraints a budget can have on a school and district, especially as a specialist teacher who is typically one of the first to be reduced or cut. I understand the decision that cuts need to be made. However, I would like the board to reconsider cutting the high school physical education position. As a community that values education and the well-being of its students, it is vital that we maintain a comprehensive physical education program that complies with state regulations and ensures the health and development of the students. This Wednesday, the district was offered an opportunity by the administration to discuss budget cuts. The Health and Physical Education Department in the high school asked the following question: what will the physical education program look like for the upcoming school year? We were told to speak with the administration about plans for next year. Today, speaking before you, we still don't know what those plans look like. And my main question is, how do you reduce a position without fully thinking of the impact that decision makes on not only the students, but the school as a whole? Moving forward, there are other concerns that I feel need to be addressed. Will we be in compliance with state and DESI regulations? Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 3 is a requirement for public schools to provide physical education for students in grades pre-K through 12, with secondary schools specifically requiring 225 minutes of PE per week and 990 hours annually. Additionally, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education mandates that physical education be taught by licensed educators. Reducing staff in this area raises concerns about meeting legal obligations and fulfilling DESI requirements. Will we maintain an adequate physical education program? A reduction in PE staffing could disrupt the delivery of the physical education curriculum, affecting students' access to essential health and fitness education. It is imperative that any changes made to staffing ensure that students' rights to an adequate and comprehensive physical education program are upheld. Along with students' rights, scheduling conflicts need to be thoroughly thought through and looked at, and teachers' rights need to be reviewed so that the board does not go against our Unit A contract. What is the impact of a sports opt-out program? I'm not sure if this will apply, but allowing students to opt into sports instead of attending PE classes raises several issues. The first main one is Monument Mountain has already attempted this as a way to obtain PE credit. The result was a school district was audited by the state of Massachusetts for not complying with state legislature and DESE regulations. For students who wish to not participate in sports or who face barriers to participation, the reduction of PE staffing could leave them without a viable alternative.
Your time is up, so just finish, please.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Colleen Seward, 65 Oak Street in Sheffield. I'm the health teacher at Monument, and I've had the privilege of serving as the health teacher for a year now. I stand before you tonight deeply concerned about the budget proposal that eliminates the PE teaching position. I want to highlight how our comprehensive health and physical education program have evolved over time and illustrate the far-reaching implications of this decision. When I was hired, my position was created in direct response to a tiered focused monitoring report from DESE, which identified that our students were not meeting state mandated physical education requirements. At the time, high school students in our district were only required to take 3 semesters of PE over 4 years. The state's continuous improvement plan explicitly stated that our district must amend course requirements to ensure that students in grades 9 through 12 participate in PE in accordance with Mass state law. To address this, we developed a comprehensive PE course for the 23-24 school year, ensuring our students receive both PE and health instruction. However, implementing this model presented significant challenges. Due to scheduling limitations, PE and health classes were combined into a single roster, requiring us to split students into alternating quarters of PE and health. This created logistical difficulties, including complications with credit reporting, administrative burden on guidance staff, and confusion about student schedules. To resolve these challenges, my colleagues and I developed a revised course structure, which was unanimously supported by our department, endorsed by the Academic Affairs Committee, and approved for implementation in the 25-26 academic year. This new structure would allow students to take 1 semester of health in either 10th or 11th grade while completing 3 semesters of PE, ensuring compliance with state requirements while also simplifying scheduling and grading. Despite our efforts to strengthen this program, the decision to eliminate the PE teaching position directly undermines our progress. Our current PE staff is already stretched thin, taking on additional sections to accommodate student needs. Cutting a position will not only create an increased workload for the remaining staff, but also limit student access to structured PE courses. Physical education is about more than just physical activity. It fosters social emotional learning, stress relief, and lifelong fitness habits. PE courses provide exposure to a wide range of activities beyond competitive sports like yoga, dance, golf, pickleball, archery, and more that students can engage in long after high school. By eliminating a PE position, we diminish these opportunities and contradict the district's stated commitment to student wellness and equitable access to education. The decision to cut this position lacks transparency and fair oversight. Our department was not consulted in this process, and we have not been fully presented with a developed plan outlining how we will continue to meet student needs, nor have we received an explanation regarding how this change aligns with long-term district goals. I urge the committee to reconsider eliminating a PE position. Instead, I encourage collaboration between educators, administrators, and stakeholders to explore options that support student wellness, maintain compliance with state standards, and preserve the integrity of our health and physical education program. Our students deserve a comprehensive, well-structured physical education curriculum that prioritizes long-term health and development. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Online. We have Jan Wojcik. Jan, just unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, it's Jan Wojcik, 253 Long Pond Road, Great Barrington. I have a different kind of query to you folks. When you look at all of the data from the DESE choices, it becomes apparent that the Berkshire Hills School District is paying its superintendent an exorbitant amount of money compared to other districts. And that sort of strikes me as being sort of a problem in the sense that I'm being told that you folks have to adjust your budget appropriately and this and that and save money, but yet you're increasing what Mr. Dillon gets in addition to his little sidekick thing with Richmond, and yet we don't have the results to really show for it. If you look at how much we spend per pupil, we are really at the high end of things. Yet when you look at how many students go to college, we're at the low end of things. The dropout rate by the database looking through the state shows that we actually are on a fairly high percentage, which is not a good thing. And when you look at advanced course completion in grades 11 and 12, we're much lower than many other communities in the state, which pay less for their education and get better results. So I'm just a little unsure how you folks are assuming to move forward when you're really not doing it based upon the metrics the state outlines that we can all look at.
Thank you very much. Next.
Hi, Kelsey Romano, special education teacher at Monument and resident of Lanesboro. I know I have overwhelmed you all in your inboxes with what I firmly believe the importance of keeping the PE position at Monument as a necessity for equity and ensuring a healthy and thriving student body, especially for students with special needs such as ADHD and autism. I have also shared with you multiple times the voices of students who both value the position itself and the teacher in that position. These students went out of their way to share and stood up to passionately advocate for what they believe in, which is truly a credit to their education, their families, and their community. Hot off the presses, I had another student approach me today and ask me to speak to you. Olivia, a senior at Monument, who is extremely active and engaged in our theater program, asked me to share the following statement. I am a senior at Monument Mountain this year. Ms. Salino has made a huge impact on this school in the very few months she has been here. Now, I've only had her a short while as I have her second semester. However, in those few weeks, she has truly made an impact on me because every time I walk into the gym, she says hello with a smile on her face. She also has lessons planned, activities to do every time you're in gym, which is a new experience. I am also a person that does not love gym. I am not very athletic. However, Ms. Salino has made to where I am excited to find out what we're going to do each day. She also checks in on how we are doing and talks to us about her passions like coaching softball. Also, if she lost her job, it would put an unnecessary amount of pressure onto Ms. Campbell, which would be unfair to her because every grade has a different need for gym class. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Hassett. Just unmute yourself, please. You're just muted if you unmute yourself. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and then we'll come back to you. No.
Hello, Neil Weber, 22 Ice Glen Road, and art teacher at Monument for the last 30 years. I have a couple of points I want to make. One is, I implore that you really make your choices wisely, and that the impact on the students is considered. As I know you've said it's the first impact, but from what I've seen and from what I've been spoken to, because I haven't been spoken to, I think you could do a better job and really looking deeply. And in that, it's also the choices that you have made. I believe some teachers are going to be bumped because you may take away this position, which would cause another person to walk into that position. And I think some of those bumps and changes are going to have some huge impact on our kids. So I just, please do that smartly. Secondly, I think there's very few hands-on pre-vocational programs in the middle school. In fact, this might be the last one that's being cut. I mean, you do have the art program, but I look at my own education, and I'm old enough that I had shop class for, I think, 2 years in middle school, to include metals and woods. And I even took home ec, and it made a significant impact on my education, and I see losing that in the middle school, that there will be a consequence. And as what I see coming into the high school, I think it's essential that kids have hands-on experience with real materials. I know math and science is incredibly important for any kind of vocational work. However, they're going to get that. And by taking away this hands-on experience, I personally think is a mistake. Secondly, and I know this is a little bit out of my league, but in my 30 years here, I've watched you guys, you've been very good with the budgets, and when there is a tight budget, you make sure that you figure out a budget that will pass for the voters. And I think and I couldn't, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think of the 30 years, there's 1 year where the townspeople voted down the school budget. I would like you to give the townspeople an opportunity to vote down the school budget. And maybe there'll be less cuts. Maybe they'll say, no, we want those programs that you're gonna cut, and we're gonna pay for them. Give them an opportunity, because from my experience, the process is you don't really give them an opportunity. You make the cuts, and then they pass the budget. That's it. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Campbell. I live at 105 Britton Hill Road in Salisbury, Connecticut, and I'm a teacher at the high school. I'm one of the 2 PE teachers. I spoke online a few weeks ago, and I want to take this opportunity to discuss how eliminating the PE position would directly impact our students. When I started at Monument 18 years ago, Marianne Young challenged us to rebuild the PE and wellness department. At the time, budget cuts had led to large mixed level grade classes that were not developmentally appropriate, and there was no health education being taught at Monument. Over the years, we've worked to restructure the program, ensuring each class is grade specific and that all students receive structured instruction in both physical education and in health. As a result, we have been compliant with the state requirements for health and physical education in grades 9 through 12 within the last 2 years. Eliminating this position risks the undoing of that process, potentially returning us to the situation that I encountered years ago when I first arrived, where students lack the quality education that they deserved. Physical education is more than just physical activity. It's a structured, inclusive program designed to meet the needs of our students, regardless of their athletic ability. Every student at Monument takes this course over the 4 years. It is essential, part of our well-rounded education that directly impacts students' physical health, mental well-being, and academic success. It provides a safe, welcoming environment where all students can engage in lifelong learning activities that can benefit their health and wellness well into adulthood. Cutting this position would directly limit students' access to these opportunities. A major concern is how student schedules will be structured if this position is cut, which was mentioned before. Before eliminating this role, we must be clear and have a plan outlining the impact on students and the master schedule. With hundreds of students currently enrolled in PE each semester, cutting a teacher would mean half of those students would need to be placed somewhere else. Where are they going to go? Many of the electives are already full. Are we going to put them in a new study hall? Students right now are already coming to us asking to come into the gym and not be in study hall, which we can't allow. So where is this? What's going to happen? And these are critical questions that need to be answered before we move forward. Every student at Monument deserves an equitable education. Our graduates should leave with a toolbox of skills to lead healthy lives. In this position, if we eliminate it, our ability to provide the instruction in mental, emotional, social, and physical well-being is going to be significantly limited. We will not reach every student, and we can't confidently say that all students will graduate with a comprehensive understanding of wellness. With this position, the depth and breadth of our curriculum will suffer if we cut it, leaving gaps in our students' knowledge of essential life skills. Beyond the immediate impact of students, this change creates a significant scheduling challenges that have not been fully considered. As stated before, there is not a complete plan, which we would like to know, because again, it's directly affecting the entire student body. Additionally, while I understand that this position is cut and it's not a personal one, we're really losing one of the best teachers that I've worked with. Sorry. I urge you to uphold our district's dedication to help student health and wellness by preserving this position. It's been 18 years and I'm really proud to say that we have been giving every student at Monument tools to go on and be successful, healthy people.
Thank you, thank you.
Pam, you're unmuted. Just state your name and address, go right ahead. Oh, not, she disappeared again.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else?
Hey, Tom,
Tom, can you stand up? Go right ahead, Tom.
Hi, I'm Tom Roy, the computer science teacher at Monument, president of the BHEA, and future retiree here. And I just want to show you an example of why I'm retiring. Everybody who's come up here has had a paper like this, and this would be mine. The font size has changed enough where it's time to go. First, I want to thank everybody on the finance committee and those who've been working on the budget proposal since August. I recognize the immense amount of work that goes into this process and understand that making decisions that impact positions and programs is never easy. As many of you know, Peter and I meet almost weekly, and our recent discussions have always focused heavily on the budget. We've had clear differences on key points regarding positions and programs. And as you're well aware, I've encouraged BHEA members to communicate directly with the school committee to share their concerns and possible solutions, as they have a better understanding about what goes on in their building than I do. I hope you've had the chance to review those messages, as they offer valuable insights to help guide your decision making. I also urge you to postpone the vote and wait until your next meeting on March 6th, which would allow more time to address outstanding concerns and refine the proposal in a way that better serves our students and staff. After hearing from everyone tonight, I think you'll agree that this is a massive amount of information to absorb in a short period, especially when making decisions with long-term consequences. And that brings me to my larger concern, is the process itself. I know Rich talked about it earlier. There's some good information for me there. Peter and I have talked about it. But the committee's been discussing this budget since August, yet the final presentation wasn't made until February 13th, 6 months later, at which point the floodgates seemed to open. This compressed timeline creates unnecessary stress and limits opportunities for meaningful collaboration. I think we need a more streamlined and inclusive process. If the school committee administrators and staffs were engaged at key points throughout the process, we could avoid this last minute scramble. A more transparent approach would align with the goals set forth in the district improvement plan, which calls for enhanced communication, trust, and professional culture. I believe we all share the same goal, to make the best possible decision for our students. The question is, can we build a better process that allows us to do that together? I invite the school committee to work with us on establishing a more proactive, collaborative approach moving forward. Thank you.
Pam, go right ahead. You seem to be unmuted now, so go right ahead.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Third time's a charm. Okay, sorry, everyone. I'm attending the meeting because I'm concerned about the elimination of the 2-day-a-week certified occupational therapy assistant. I really feel like it's going to impact direct student programming as indicated by their IEPs. There was no discussion with us as a 2-person team to review the workload. Instead, it was reached out into the community districts. And I feel like we were kind of sidelined on that, and we should have been asked directly what the situation was and how our caseload is. So I do urge the school committee not to allow the elimination of the CODA program, the CODA position. And I strongly feel that the school benefits from this person in this role. Thank you.
Yeah. Come right up.
Hi, I'm Susan Tagan. I'm a special ed teacher at Muddy Brook. My address is 1568 Dublin Road in Richmond. I've been teaching at Muddy Brook for almost 12 years now. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I did send a letter to you today regarding my concerns about the cuts at Muddy Brook. And I'm happy to hear about the reconsideration for eliminating a third grade section. My letter contains much more detail than I'm going to share right now, but I feel it's absolutely necessary to for you to consider the literacy needs of our youngest students at Muddy Brook. If we want to produce high school graduates who embody the qualities we determine necessary in a portrait of a graduate, can't recall all the bulleted points, but they're in my letter. A strong, solid foundation in literacy needs to be developed, and that begins at the early childhood level with evidence-based, explicit, systematic, multisensory literacy instruction. And as several people have mentioned before, Massachusetts legislation and DESE requirements have lots of them for all different areas of education, specifically for reading or literacy, dyslexia screening, evidence-based interventions, and evidence-based and research-based interventions, and DESE-supported literacy programs are among those requirements. So again, if we want to develop all students into successful readers and productive high school students who are productive and responsible citizens, we need to direct resources and attention to our youngest students. It is much easier to intervene and remediate students at younger ages than it is at third grade and beyond. It's almost, it doesn't work as well beyond third grade. I urge you to consider how we can put an evidence-based reading program in place for our pre-K, EK, and K classes at the very least. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Sharon Shalo. I live on Thrushwood Lane in Great Barrington. I'm also chair of the Board of Library Trustees. So I was really interested in the process you said that you begin this with, because in the other town committees and sections, we don't just begin with a budget that has been developed without any constraints. So, I mean, do you have any discussion about the amount of increase in a year that you think the first budget should be trying to hit? So that's a question. I don't need an answer. I'm sort of asking. I've never been in a public situation where you just.
Well, we don't answer questions, but to
So
be
anyway.
honest, we start this in the summertime.
Okay, well, it didn't sound like that, so I was just asking.
Yes, we do.
The other thing I'd like to say is that in Great Barrington, there have been proposals to develop a two-tier tax structure for our properties so that we can raise more money to pay for a really pretty extreme percentage of our municipal funds that are devoted to the schools. I think we'd all be happy with a 50-50 split. You know, that would be great, but we're nowhere near that. I mean, somebody else can say what the percentage is. So I'd like to see some good faith effort to work toward that. I also think that you should really be developing a good faith effort to balance those choicing and tuitions in without, and let this school district be the driver of how many places you'll offer, so that we have a zero-sum game and that we're not subsidizing other communities. So I'd like you to think about that. And the other thing is, it gets really hard when you get down to arguing for individual teachers or individual programs, because of course they're all important. I really think, based on what I've been hearing so far, that it may well be that this very well-oiled system is just a bit out of scale for the number of students. So I think you might want to look at it globally and not, you know, teacher by teacher or opening by opening, and say, how do we right-size the entire administration to fit the body of students that we have, not the ones that we hope we have, and that are district students, not including the people coming in, and see if you can make a kind of global adjustment so that at least for, I mean, I know one town's in this, three-town, collaboration doesn't pay over 50% of their municipal funds toward education, but I think it would really help if you could communicate to us what the overall plan is to get this back into scale.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing? Do I have a second? No,
Oh, second.
They need to wait there one. It's a roll call vote. Sarah Jeanette,
Yes.
Allison Reed,
Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Andy,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Diane,
Yes.
Sarah, Rich,
Aye.
and I. It's unanimous. Rich, you want to have a few comments?
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked, about what our procedure going forward is gonna be. And there's a lot of real moving parts here. Typically we jump right into deliberations as soon as public hearings close, if there's enough time, and there certainly is tonight. And in my mind, there's kind of general questions before I think we can even get into these specific issues, which need a lot of discussion and a lot of thought. Obviously, those being the cuts that are proposed. We've heard from several people from Great Barrington, today. I live in Great Barrington. I represent all three towns. We all represent all three towns, which is the beauty of this position. And all three towns are partners in this organization, and the town of Great Barrington is perilously close to going over its levy limit. So this is this is a unique situation. This is not a question of simply passing the budget at town meeting. It's a question of, the town's capacity to pay. Steve, obviously, with his dual hats, has a very deep knowledge of that situation. But I don't think we can make any decisions on a gross number until we fully wrap our heads around the impact that our budget's gonna have on potentially pushing Great Barrington over its levy limit. I have, and I've on a personal level, kind of taken a look at the Great Barrington side of things. I've talked to officials in Great Barrington. Obviously, Steve has as well. And I personally have a sense what we would have to do to get to a point where we didn't push them over the levy limit. And the sad state of it is, it's more cuts than even what has already been proposed. And we heard Dr. Dillon say earlier, he said at Finance Committee today that he has some amendments to the proposals that he had already made. So I personally don't think tonight's the night to get into individual cut line item deliberations until we know, until we can reach some consensus as to what our base number is gonna be. And until we have a clear picture as to what the administration is actually proposing, if there's gonna be, and not, they haven't been clear, but there's been shifts. Appropriate shifts responding to public comment, and I think it gives us a chance to respond to public comment tonight. So what I would propose going forward, and obviously we can talk about how we want to do it, is something that we've had to do in the past. Every time we've had these challenges where our potential revenue doesn't meet our needs or doesn't meet the needs of proposal, is to put to the administration task of going and evaluating additional cuts and at what level. And I think we can do it could be by formal motion or not. I would make the motion to do that and then come back and be able to have a thorough next week line by line evaluation of each of the cuts, potential cuts, and hopefully vote on a final bottom line budget. And I have to do specific polls on that, but if people have thoughts on that format, if people want to dive into it.
Why don't we do it as a motion? And I think we have to give them, the administration, some sort of a guide of how much we expect additional cuts to be. Not that we will make them, we probably will, but we may not. But I think in order to help Great Barrington and the taxpayers of all three towns, are we talking $200,000?
I think so.
Yeah, so don't I. So why don't you make a motion and we'll have discussion?
I move that administration, proposed an, additional $200,000 in gross cuts to our district, understanding that that doesn't result in a $200,000 benefit to, Great Barrington, but a $200,000 reduction in our gross budget, that would still allow us to meet the needs of our students for review and consideration by the committee at its March 6th meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. With no discussion, I'll take a roll call vote. Sarah Kennedy,
Yes.
Allison Reed,
Yes.
Jason,
Aye.
Andy,
All right.
Bill,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Diane,
Yes.
Sarah,
Aye.
Rich,
Yes.
and I, that's unanimous. So we will move ahead. We will not take any action on the budget this evening. We have a slight bit more business to do. So let's start, Peter, let's just go to, do you have anything under superintendent's report?
No, I sort of anticipated that we'd talk for hours about public comments, so I don't have a lot. When we get to the MSBA section, I could share some good news there.
Yep. Subcommittee report, policy is not met, buildings and grounds.
Building and Grounds met last Tuesday, February 18th.
You got
At
more to say?
Monument. We'll go building by building. The Monument Mountain situation is, doing well. Lots of ice and snow removal. There was a request from the Relay for Life, who last year had an event outside that was then destroyed by microburst. So they came to Steve and asked if they could use the facilities of the school and move the event inside. The committee had some problems with actually having hundreds of people walking around the hallway in a circular manner. So we asked them if the weather is favorable, the walking could take place outside, and some of the organizational material that they need and that was ripped apart by the microburst could be inside the building. And I believe Steve is going to talk to them about that, and hopefully they will agree that if the weather is favorable, the walking will take place outside of the school. In the Du Bois update, they are converting one of the classrooms as a fail light system with the new proposed system. They're converting. He explained that the lighting system is 20 years old. People should know that these buildings are 20 years old. We are quickly fixing them by installing a toggle switch in order to come back into the code compliance. We need to install energy efficient systems that will meet a minimum standard that the original design achieved. There is one classroom in the elementary school that's been converted over the Christmas break and has been very well received. Also, the HVAC contractors are on the site, reestablishing full communication and lining up heat pump replacements. At Muddy Brook, things are going relatively smooth. There are some small issues. Maintenance is complete. Also, a fault security camera on occasion that has quickly been repaired. Predominantly standard maintenance items have been taken care of. The chiller bid came in with only one bidder, and that bid was very high and much higher than projected and budgeted for. So forcing that bid to be dismissed, which we all hope will go back out to bid in the future with the hope of attracting more bidders and therefore more competitive bidding. Also, work continues every day to sustain the daily operations of the wastewater plant and the public water supply that feeds the entire campus. Maintenance personnel is working very hard, keeping all the pumps operable and having them repaired and replaced as necessary. The critical pumps have been identified and all have an inventory with the goal of continuous operation. That is the Building and Grounds Subcommittee report.
Thank you. Rich, anything on the finance?
We met earlier, and I think the summary of what I said earlier is the substance of it. And I will add that, you know, what we've done, we've kind of, the consensus was, and one of the things that my proposal is, you know, these individual cut issues now at the point where they gotta be discussed among the full committee because they're that important. So I think the balance of the work will be done here.
Can I just clarify one thing about the subcommittee?
Yeah.
It's conducted under the open meetings law, correct?
Yes.
Correct. So I just wanted to be clear that the meetings since August have all been posted and available
By both Zoom
for
and.
anyone to attend.
We do it by
And Zoom.
Google, we do it by Google actually usually, but Zoom,
Yeah.
is it Google or Zoom? Yes.
I
Yes,
just
thank you.
wanted to put that on the table.
Yes, definitely. Okay, MSBA updates, not on the agenda, but I take advantage of the fact that we really should do this, and there's no reason we're not, so either Jason and Peter.
Well, we have not met since our last meeting as a committee as a whole, so I'll defer to Peter on the
Okay, so
update.
we had a nice meeting with the full board of the MSBA, and they voted unanimously the other day to invite us into schematic design. There are a whole bunch of different modules or steps in the MSBA process. And I'm gonna get the minutes of this because it was really quite remarkable. At the beginning of the thing, they introduce each of the impacted school districts, and one of the members went on a really nice complimentary 5-minute talk about how we presented one of the most thoughtful educational plans that they've read in 20 years. And that really set up the vote nicely, because after somebody says that, they have to vote yes. So that was very positive. So I'm excited about that. That means that we just continue the work, right? The architects are doing more work and more things. The other thing that's interesting that you might have wondered about, out by the greenhouses and that practice athletic field, you'll see their giant drill rigs up there. They're drilling test wells for potential ground source heat pumps and to check the viability of that. And there's a whole process and thing, but the fear was as they drilled those wells that, I mean, I guess the biggest fear would be you hit oil or the biggest wing, right? But then you hit too much water. And if there's too much water, then you're unable to run that system. And we'll get a formal report, but they keep going down deeper and deeper, which is potentially quite promising. So that's the other update from the MSP.
Thank you. The only other thing, other than the budget, any public comment?